Now, obviously, you're doing an amazing work. The numbers are there to show. But let's look at the legal framework in the country around sustainability. We don't have any.
Well, I wouldn't say we don't have any. There's a lot of legislation on environment. There is legislation on labor. There are financial regulations. And if you look at them one way or another, they work to inform what sustainable business practices look like. But I usually say sustainability must be more than compliance. I told you I was an environmentalist for compliance. And I felt like there was a whole gap that was not being accessed.
Yeah.
And we have had an influx of regulations coming in. And a lot of it are informed by regulations that have been there in Europe. Europe is a global champion for sustainable living, and it's driven all the way from their political formation, from the geopolitical landscape. I mean, governments are driving it even before corporates. Okay, and some of the legislations we borrow, we try and fit them into the local system. Are there gaps and challenges? Yes, there are. Because, number one, how many people locally understand these global sustainability regulations? How many people know how to pick what has worked for a country in Europe and tailor-make it to work for a country in Kenya? I'd say regulations come in well, and they're good, and they're well-meaning, but then we have one gap again. Knowledge, attitude, practices. You have to change that before you implement any meaningful legislation. Let's take, for example, the plastic ban, yes? Very nice. Very good. I mean, you would argue plastics had become a menace, the single-use plastics.
Yeah.
And that ban came at a very opportune time. Of course, there had been conversations around it, and it was just a matter of time before it happened. But on the flip side, there is what is evil, and there is what would be a sustainable alternative. Now, whatever was supposed to be provided as a sustainable alternative was not explored. All right? So people did not have information. People did not have proper direction. Okay? Yes, this is important, but we have no alignment on what it is. So when the plastics were banned, all of a sudden, there was a gap.
Chaos.
So what do we need to use? Is brown paper okay? Yes, it's okay. Is this okay? Yes, it's okay. And then at some point, we had the introduction of the Uhuru bag. Yes? And it became the most sustainable solution back then. Go and look at your landfills right now.
Uhuru bags are
the problem. I mean, it's not the single-use plastics that we banned. It's the Uhuru bags which are the problem. And when you sit at the same time, you can see stories in media like we have a water hyacinth problem in Lake Victoria. And at that particular time, you'd find there were innovators who were converting that hyacinth into brown paper bags. I mean, was there no one to sit down and explore that as a packaging solution? Deal with one problem and try and close the gap on another. Recently, again, we had a notice that was passed on people to transition from your regular bin liners to biodegradable bin liners. Okay? Perfect. We need biodegradable plastics. All right? Are there standards for what's biodegradable in Kenya? All right? It more or less looks like, yes, our minds and hearts are in the right place, but we tend to put the cart before the horse, providing legislation before providing a pathway, providing solutions before providing a framework for it. And as much as we are trying to breach that regulatory space, there's a lot of information that needs to be passed on to people, and you need to change their mindsets. They need to realize that this is a problem. And if this is a problem, what's the solution to it? Once there is a solution, okay, then you now do what? Put in the regulations, all right? And they know, okay, these regulations have come in to help us curtail this. You'll find there's a lot of buy-in. The reason why people look like they're resistant to new regulations or legislation that come in is because they have no buy-in. They wake up and they find, oh, something happened. Was there stakeholder participation? Was there consultation? You find, yes, there was stakeholder consultation. There was public participation, and there are actually records for it. But how many people did it actually reach? It probably reached up to a certain level of decision makers, and then it died there. So the people who are actually supposed to be champions for sustainable living at the grassroots levels, ni sheria tu ninawapata hapo mwisho. Yeah, they don't get the opportunity to internalize what change looks like and what role they have to play in it all. When you come to businesses, it's a little bit clear-cut, because you now find that businesses operating, especially within the EU ecosystem, or those that are listed, regulated by maybe the NSE or the capital markets, they have clear-cut regulations on what it is you need to achieve or to do in terms of achieving environmental impact, social impact, proper governance structures within your institution, and how you need to disclose it. Okay? The regulations are ever changing, but at least they're clear-cut. There's at least frameworks for it. What frameworks are there for those that are yet to be listed? What frameworks are there for the consumer? We might build sustainable businesses, but are we building sustainable communities?
I'm really happy you've mentioned that, because even if you look at sustainability professionals, it's the same thing. When sustainability was picking up, people were going into the field because it was marketable at the time. It was the newest thing. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone wanted to, we were all looking for sustainability professionals at the time. But as a country, were we prepared for that need? Even as training institutions, do we have any courses around sustainability locally? Can I go to KU? Can I go to JQuat and register for a sustainability program?
I'd say I agree. There's still a gap. There are private institutions locally that are now offering courses. Okay, GRI certification courses. Courses that help you understand disclosure metrics, especially for professionals. There are institutions that are offering. I'd not say that it's course that is directly tailored to be called a sustainability course, but it does touch on a significant aspect of sustainability. If you go to the University of Nairobi, today they have a postgraduate course in environmental and social governance. Okay, it's a master's program, and then it's also a PhD program. Okay, so I'd say our learning institutions are taking that up quite fast. But I think a lot more material today is still tailored for professionals.
Exactly.
And yes, there will be that gap. And now I'd emphasize beyond businesses. Let's go back to SDG 17, Partnership for the Goals. The few professionals or the few champions that are there that understand this. How are you helping integrate others into it so that we take the conversation out of the boardrooms? The boardrooms are an important place to have them. But it is good to know that these conversations also need to be taken out of the boardrooms and into the streets. Someone in a matatu needs to understand the importance of not throwing a yogurt bottle outside their window. Okay? Someone with a kitchen garden could also as well understand the importance of regenerative agriculture in their home. It's something that it can be put into day-to-day living, but in the absence of courses that would make this actionable, what are we doing in terms of collaboration and networking as people in that space? And what is it that we are giving into our communities so that they are also able to embrace it just as much as corporates are beginning to embrace it?
I know you're doing something about that as a collective. You guys just launched, do I call it an association? Do I call it a professional, a group? Tell us about that, because it's a step in the right direction, in terms of bridging the gaps we've talked about.
It's called the Sustainability Champions Network, connecting champions across Africa, because Africa needs to find its identity in sustainability. That is one. And champions, because we are not all sustainability professionals, yes? That does not mean we are not all sustainability champions. I tell you for a fact, you might go into a village trying to help them understand something, but in essence, they understand it better than you do. They just don't call it sustainability.
True.
All right? But according to them, they know it's best practice. Why? Maybe they have adopted it in terms of indigenous knowledge or traditional knowledge, and it works marvelous. You will go and explain it to them with technical jargons, and they will look at you and say, anatuambia nini? And you will look at them and say, these ones are never going to understand, but they know it better than you. How do we translate sustainability to the African people? How do we tailor-make it to have an African identity? So that network brought in professionals from diverse industries and diverse disciplines, okay? Not sustainability professionals. And you could see the curiosity in wanting to know, how does my role relate to building a sustainable business? And what is my contribution? What can I give? Where can I get to learn ABCD? There is need to learn. People want to learn. So this network has been built to expand the network to as many people as possible, get as many voices as possible, and just take as much action as possible. Because at the end of the day, there has to be impact, and then there has to be a story.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have impact, but you have no story. Stories also help people understand, this is what this particular group of people or this particular community did, and this is what they have achieved. Are we able to replicate the same? The power of a story. You have not told them what to do. You have just told them what someone else did, and they take it upon themselves to replicate the power of a story. So this network is supposed to achieve that. I'm proud to be part of it, and I hope that it realizes that impact. At the end of the day, then we will have achieved what it is that we intend to achieve for Africa. Yeah.
So how do you guys plan on reaching young professionals? The ones that are freshly out of school. Someone wants to pursue. They want to become sustainability professionals in the next 2 years.
Even simply,
or is it too soon?
even by simply being on this podcast, I'm already reaching out to someone,
that is
one or
true.
two people. And there is what we call participation in business to business forum. And there's also participation in business to consumer forum. And I usually encourage that if you are someone in the sustainability space, or you have a story, even if it's a church forum, hata kama ni crusade, go and tell a story. You never know who you might reach. You never know who was waiting for that story. So we need to get out behind our desks and start going out into the communities and talk to them. The opportunities might present themselves, fine. If they do not, let us go out there. Let us create those opportunities. Because, as I said, we need to tell the stories. We need to tell the stories. There are people in school today who have no idea what sustainability is. And they are going to form a very significant portion of the workforce in the near future. They are going to become business leaders. They are going to become entrepreneurs. And some of them will get into those spaces without ever understanding what sustainability is. Because if you open your business studies textbook, the purpose of a business is to make profit. There's nowhere they tell you that you have to make environmental impact or social impact. You make profit, okay? And I think one good thing we are doing as HACO Industries is that we have what we call the Schools Factory Education Tour.
Oh.
So what happens is that we make it open, we make the factory open to learners from primary to tertiary level. But of course, you have to be very careful with young children in a factory setup. So grade 6 and above. And when they come to the factory, as much as you try to help them understand what sustainable manufacturing looks like, you also introduce them to the concept of a triple bottom line business. We are a business.
Yes.
We are making environmental impact. What does environmental impact look like? We are making social impact. What does social impact look like? And at the end of the day, we have to make profit so that this business continues running. And they have been to a factory now, and they now understand what a triple bottom line business is. So if they're getting into the workforce 10 years from now, when they're getting into management positions, they will inspire a whole workforce of triple bottom line staff. Staff who are pursuing the 3 impacts. And that is an education program that has been running for quite some time in HACO. And I hope it runs for the longest time. And I hope other business also pick it up and drive the issue of a triple bottom line business so that we're able to reach to as many learners as possible.
I mean, it would be nice to invite EHS Unplugged podcast. That would be a story that we'd want to cover and put it out there. Because again, we know HACO. In your introduction, we know HACO through the products.
Yes.
But we don't know your ethics, business ethics. That is something we are learning today. And that is what businesses are missing out on. Sometimes it's not about the product, it's the individual. How do I draw this individual? How do I make them, long-term customers? It's through what you're giving back to the environment, to the people.
Yeah.
Right? Amazing. So, Oscar, 3 things. You mentioned a couple of R's.
All right.
How many did you mention?
5 R's.
5 R's. So which is the most important one?
Well, I have a 6th R.
Oh my God.
Because R is how we interact with waste. You either refuse it. If you cannot refuse it, you reduce what it is you take. If you cannot reduce, after you use, you recycle. If you cannot recycle, you reuse it. If you cannot reuse it and you cannot recycle it, it's probably organic. So you rot it. Okay? Those are the 5 R's. But there's a 6th R called rethink. Okay? So before you settle for any of the R's, think, is that my last option? If you get packaging material from abroad, okay? Raw plastic, ask yourself first, can I get this same material locally? Can I get it as recycled material? Can I get it as recycled material with the same quality? Is it going to serve the same purpose? So why should I import? Rethink is what we use in our business operations. I think it's a silent R, but it's the most important.
Is this a legal requirement for the 6th R to be on packaging materials?
No, it's not. It's not a legal requirement.
I think it should be.
It should. And that is what now separates compliance and sustainability.
Oh, yes.
If I need to comply, I'll just have to segregate my waste at source, store it appropriately as prescribed in the waste management regulations, and then I'm done. You see? If I am being sustainable, then I would want to know if a waste picker has picked my waste from my yard, from my segregation station, what are they going to do with it? Because a waste picker could as well just go and throw it into a river, might just go and landfill it. So at the end of the day, you did what was right and acceptable statutorily, but it did not end at the right place. So you did not achieve sustainability. Yeah.
Oscar, if you were to rate us as so the manufacturing sector, sustainable manufacturing, where do you think we are on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd say 6. I'd say 6. The manufacturing space is doing a lot. And a lot of the time, the impact of the manufacturers is not felt because they don't communicate. They do it and then they hush. All right? So it looks like they're not doing much. Are there a few bad apples? Yes, there are. There are still entities that are profit-driven, which is not a sin, but at least to the minimum. Do not discard your waste into rivers. Do not pollute critical natural resources. Do not pay below prescribed wages simply because it does magic to your balance sheets and your bottom lines. I mean, the bare minimum works if everybody stands at bare minimum and those that have chosen to go beyond still continue to scale it up. I think the manufacturing sector would be doing a solid 8 or 9. Yeah.
Thank you. So, I mean, how long do you think we have to go to get to an 8? How many years do you give us?
Well, I cannot think of that without being biased.
No, please.
Without being biased, I'd say in terms of let me separate it. Okay, I'd say in terms of waste management, around 20 years from the manufacturers, we should be good.
20.
If I'm talking about emissions, I'd give us 100 years.
Oh God.
There's what critically ails our planet, and then there are efforts that we are willing to take to make sure that we heal or we restore the planet. Okay, when we look at emissions, are there regulations around them? Partly yes, partly no. I mean, we have regulations on carbon markets, on carbon credits. Do we have regulations that control what you need to emit or not? I'm not talking about the statutory emissions that we do annually. I'm talking about the Kyoto emissions that cause global warming. No, we don't have regulations around that. No. Even the global binding treaty is not legal. You know, it's just a commitment by nations. There's nothing legally binding. So if someone chooses to walk out of it or to breach it, I mean, there is really no ramification for them. It's we are treading on the emissions journey in good faith. For waste, it could be achievable because there are regulations, ESG regulations on waste that are being made statutory. Okay, with a lot of good training and compliance assistance from the regulators like NEMA and some enforcement here or there. think 20 years is enough.
So 120. Oh God. We'll be long dead by then. But at least 100 years is possible. 20 is possible. So let's wait and see what the future holds.
And could be long, could be too little, too late. But if you're working for posterity, it begins now. Yeah.
Yeah, at least we have companies like HACO doing something about it. It starts with someone.
And
with the you and I.
With the little that you have.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So Oscar, as we come to the tail end of this episode.
All right.
You read a lot of books. What's on your list right now? What are you reading?
The Bible.
I thought it would be something around sustainability.
No. I feel I'm not yet there when it comes to how many books I need to read. I read reports on the daily.
Oh no.
I read, I do analysis on the daily. I learn on the daily from forums, workshops, and I will not say currently that I am taking any keen interest or on any sustainability book. I might do a publication here or there. A book, no. But the first and the most important sustainability manual is the Bible. And it comes in its different forms, depending on which religion you are in.
I don't read the Bible.
You do not?
No.
So, love, peace, care. That's sustainability.
And all of that is in the Bible.
All that in so many words, but yes, love, peace, and care. Love your communities, care for the environment. You will have that peace.
There's one question I meant to ask, and I'm going to ask it at the tail end.
All right.
Which is now.
Okay.
When you're talking about OSH, it's a debate that's ongoing right now,
yes.
Because you're having OSH professionals still managing sustainability for companies, right? Is that the way we're supposed to go, or these roles are supposed to be separated altogether?
OSH has a very significant role to play in sustainability. Oh, that should have come at the middle of the...
I know.
Very significant.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge there is an understanding gap between what should be in and what should not be in sustainability. The OSH practitioners are professionals, and they are sustainability professionals, and they do not know it. When you look at, let's say in a manufacturing setup, when we're looking at OSH, we are looking at it under the broad umbrella of zero harm. Okay? And zero harm means, number one, you have employees in your workforce. What are you doing to ensure that they get home in the same shape they came to work? Okay? That's just basic occupational safety. Over and above that, there is environmental safety. Zero harm to the environment, because these same employees are the ones that are going to be discarding waste. Okay? They are the same ones that are interacting with the immediate physical environment. They're the same ones that are propelling what the business does to its immediate community. So, if you have achieved their safety, how do you engage them to achieve environmental safety? Because it is their action that determines whether we achieve this or not. Third safety is consumer safety. They are making products in that factory. Are they taking shortcuts? What's the quality of the formulation? What's the quality of the packaging? What went into it before it reached the consumer? Again, that's the responsibility of the employee. All right? So they understand that their well-being also directly translates to the well-being of the environment and needs to translate to the well-being of the consumer. And then the last is safety for company equipment. You're interacting with a chair. You're interacting with a machine. I mean, I'll just not come with a razor blade and start cutting the chair. I'll just not break something because it does not belong to me. You are taking care of your equipment. It's like your working station is your baby or your spouse. You clean it when you get there in the morning. You clean your chair. You clean your equipment. You make sure it's in a good condition to operate before you even fire up your machine. So you're taking care of 4 things at the same time. That is zero harm. Zero harm to yourself, zero harm to the environment, zero harm to company property that has been entrusted to you, and then ultimately zero harm to the consumer.
Wow. I mean, I like the way you summed it up because now I'm looking at then how should the remuneration be like? Because I know at HACO it's separated. We have an environment and sustainability manager, and then we have OSH, and you have a occupational health and safety manager, right?
Yes.
Those are 2 different departments. And I know for you're reporting directly to your MD, and I don't know if OSH is within a department on its own, reporting directly to the MD or to the HR. Now, if you merge these roles, does the salary reflect the workload?
Equal pay for equal work.
Yeah. No, that's easier said than done.
That is sustainability. I think in many organizations, OSH takes a backseat simply because, just like sustainability, not many organizations understand well the imperativeness of those roles. Okay, they look like they are roles that are there to consume money.
Yeah, we're always taking.
It's an expense role. Yes, and I think at some point then the OSH professionals, the sustainability professionals, the environmental professionals need to be able to articulate to top business management what a thriving business looks like with a strong, sustainable foundation, whether it's in environmental protection, whether it's in safety. And they can only get that opportunity when they directly report to the MD. And this is a campaign to all businesses out there.
But
yeah,
it's not
that is actually a role that should be reporting to the top business manager. That's the CEO or the MD. So that decisions are made from there. Occupational safety, it's not an option. It's not an option. Environmental safety, it's not an option. Okay? It has to be understood as a business lead from the very top level so that action is taken. If you go through the OSHA, lots of times the person who is recommended to sit at the top of the OSH committee is the CEO. There's a very good reason for that, because everything trickles down from there. If you put an OSH representative or professional under me, and I as a manager do not understand the imperativeness of that role, then it's going to be a weak role. You will not get the business value that you need, and you're not going to achieve the impact that you need to. However much you try, you'll just be on a day-to-day firefighting. You'll be a firefighter. You're an employed firefighter, which is not how it's supposed to be. These are professionals that are supposed to develop systems that run to a point that their work is just to monitor. Yeah.
I think the next question I would have asked you, which I've asked so many guests here before, is how do we get into the boardroom? What's the boardroom language? Because those are skills, that is knowledge that we do not have. Sustainability professionals and OSH professionals, we don't have that. And that's why sometimes I think we're not at the table. We are not key decision makers in companies, and we are not involved during strategic planning. In fact, this is a question I'm going to ask you. If you're honest, if you're okay, you can answer this. Are you involved in strategic planning within your company?
I am. And now, for that limitation, I guess I'm going to speak directly to MDs and CEOs.
Yes, please.
You, as someone with knowledge on how safety fits into the entire organizational agenda, you really might not get the opportunity to articulate that unless the board allows you to do it or your managing director allows you to do it. I'd say it might not be the same for many companies, but the one blessing for HACO is that before you have a grassroots champion, the MD is that champion. Okay? So even before you think of how you are going to get the opportunity to articulate what it is you need to articulate to her, she's the one inviting you to the table and telling you, I understand this is important. What is it that we can do and incorporate into our business strategy so that we are able to move in this direction? So you have an easy work. If you're out there and you're looking for an opportunity to access the board or to access the top manager, I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be easy. Your ambitions, your expectations might never see the light of day. So I think that is not a bottom-up thing. It needs to trickle down. And it's a wake-up call for those people managing businesses. Yeah, listen to those professionals. I know they are the most overlooked and unseen in the management space, but look out for them. They have insights that could turn the business around, and those insights need to be shared before it's too late. Yeah.
Well, I hope they listen. I hope they watch this episode because this is information that needs to get to them, right?
Yeah.
So, Oscar, thank you so much for agreeing to come to the EHS Unplugged podcast studio, if I'm allowed to say that, and recording this episode with us. It's been really impactful to me, and I hope it's going to be the same with the audience. So, asante sana.
Thank you, Vivian. The pleasure is mine.